Recording and share screen two. I'm so bald. It always really hits me when I see myself in a camera. I really don't have a lot of hair.
Oh, there's one person.
Yeah, John Samuel. I was talking to him earlier today. Okay, he's in. Welcome, Jean Samuel. You're the only person online. That's why I'm saying hello to you directly. Um, he was in here earlier today. So, all right, I'm going to get going. Recording is happening. Amy, if I'm doing anything wrong, please let me know. Welcome to the Mel Woodward Cup application overview. So I'm just going to walk through just the website eligibility, but then I'm going to go through every single element of the application with some explanations, some tips and tricks, and that kind of jazz. So this is our website. You can just to find the page for Mel Woodward just under funding. So this is our big event every year. It's kind of a big deal. Lots of people come. Welcome, hello, from the community. It's a big event this year. It will be live, and there will be a virtual component as well. And it really brings out a lot of people in the community. I would attend these every year before I was here. Obviously the companies who have done well at this event, a lot of them have gone on to do good things in the real world as well. So it's a very exciting one. So in terms of the prizes, $25,000 first place, $15,000 for second place, and then smaller prizes for the other top five, the other three. They get an Ignite fund. We also have two extra awards. There's the Fry Family Foundation Entrepreneurship Award for Early Stage Idea. So this is for a company that shows significant promise, but maybe just didn't have enough development done, or maybe it wasn't far enough along to really compete for the top prize. So someone that might be still in sort of some earlier validation stages, as opposed to maybe getting to an MVP or a state or something like that. But we've had early stage ideas also win the whole thing as well. The Fry Family Foundation Award for Women or Non-Binary Leadership. So the top ranking woman or non-binary founder will also receive a prize. Last year, Bronwyn Bridges won the whole thing, and she got this award. So you can get more than one award in this thing as well. Eligibility, relatively simple. The applying startup must be at least 50% owned by a current Memorial University student or collective, multiple students reaching at least 50%. If the startup is yet not incorporated, then at least 50% of the founders must be university students. So if you're not incorporated and you haven't actually figured out equity share, at least half of your founders need to be students. And if the company's incorporated, two, the competition presenter needs to be a founder, co-founder, and a current Memorial student. So the person actually speaking on stage needs to be a student. Fairly simple. The applicant must intend to create and operate their startup in Newfoundland and Labrador. This is a fuzzy one because obviously you can lie, but we hope you don't. But that's what this center is all about. And our funding agencies in particular, it's about trying to create economic growth within the province. And your startup must have less than 10 time equivalent employees. This is the only requirement in terms of, there used to be a requirement in terms of how much money you've raised. That one's gone now, but no more than 10 full-time FTE employees. So if you have two part-time employees, that equals one typically. That's how we would look at that. So 20 part-time employees would also make you ineligible. Any questions on eligibility? Any questions online? I will try to check the chat from time to time. I actually don't know how to get to the chat in this mode. Yes. Anywhere. Can they locally available? Sorry, is that what you said? Yeah, they can be anywhere. Part-time employees, if they're overseas, yes, they would still qualify. This is just our way to check to make sure big companies don't apply. Yeah. All right, criteria. We don't give a ton of information on criteria, but they're just looking at the application. You can get a general sense of the things that we're looking for. Is there a strong market opportunity? Is there a valid, an actual problem you're trying to solve? And By solving that problem, could you generate lots of revenue and or have lots of impact with that? Two, do you actually have a decent idea, a proposal of a product or solution that you have for this problem, and how good is that looking? And then three, the entrepreneur team, which is very, very critical. Probably the most important piece. Any questions on that? Yes.
So does it mean more number of founders equals higher chance of getting into?
Nope. 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 I mean, there are benefits to having multiple founders, but that doesn't have any impact. Of course, if you only have one founder, you better be really good, and have knowledge of lots of different areas, I would say. But in the past, I think back, most winners have probably had at least two founders, but single founder companies, have done well as well. Yeah. General timeline, applications open. This workshop today. There's another workshop next week, actually on pitching. The applications close on February 27th, so you still have a lot of time. There's no rush to get your applications in. Like, don't save it to the last minute. And but I had this Salim asked this question earlier. It makes sense to wait because you might get further along. You might get more validation. You might have more data that will help you get in, but do not leave it to the last second as well. It's a hefty application, especially the video component to do it well. You're probably not going to do it in one take. So don't wait to the last minute either. Then we'll announce the top 10 on March 6th. So there's a sort of a pre-evaluation phase. And then there's all of this goes to, so MCE, we make no decisions about anything. Everything goes external. I have no influence over anything, any decisions that get made. What that does mean though is I can help you all as much as I want. Or as much as MCE in general will help you all as much as you want. So there'll be, out of all the applicants, there'll be a top 10. All those go out to a panel of judges. They will do a preliminary evaluation, pick a top 10, and then there'll be a Q&A with each of those top 10. Based on the results of that Q&A, in addition to the application that went in, they'll form a top 5. The top 5 gets announced on March 8th. And those are the 5 that will pitch at the main event. We will do a lot of prep with the top 5. We want to help all of you deliver phenomenal pitches on the big day, which is March 23rd, the Mel Woodward finals. Any questions on timeline? Yes.
So March 7th, Q&A, is it going to be virtual? Like the competitors will be by themselves, like answering the questions, or are you going to send them like list of questions to answer, or this is going to be from the application itself?
It'll be based on, so there'll be a panel of 5 people who are reviewing all the applications. Then that group of 5 people will develop a list of questions. You will meet them, they will ask them, you will respond. Yeah. Yes. Nope. Nope. And yeah, you can apply with just an idea. Yep. You can apply at any stage whatsoever. And I think I don't know if you hear it at the beginning, but there's a particular award specifically for early stage companies as well. So we do encourage any company at any stage to apply. I won't go through all the FAQs, but all the FAQs are here. Feel free to read through those. I'm going to dive over into the actual application now. Any questions? Yes.
You select a panel of judges, right?
Mm-hmm.
You select it from the applicant to talk to.
Yep.
Are you given like a rubric or something?
Yep. Yep. And there's 2 separate groups. So the pre-judging group of judges is different than the judges on the actual day. So we separate it out because we want the judges, the final judges, to not have any preconceived notions going in. All right. So they will be blank slates coming in. So they will only be judging you on the merits of your pitch and your responses on the day. Mm-hmm. Pardon me? Well, Do you mean protecting the IP? Yep. Yeah. It's the risk you take. This is a common concern we hear a lot. You're going to have to go public with your idea at some point. If you're not comfortable sharing your idea, if you think you have the most unique idea in the world and you're afraid someone's going to rip you off, don't apply. Because there's a possibility that will become public knowledge. But it is extremely, extremely, extremely rare that someone comes with an idea. Jan's, yeah, it's almost never happens. I would have a chat with me afterwards if you want, in confidence. But there are very few truly unique ideas out there that no one has ever thought of. The execution is typically the harder part. So I would encourage you not to not be afraid to apply if you're afraid about someone taking your idea, because it's unlikely. And even the moment you launch your product, there's always competitors. There's always other ones around. You're not going to launch into a completely new, unique space. But I'm happy to chat with you more with that after if you'd like to pick my brain a bit more about it. Okay. I will say this, actually. We do in terms of team, there's already a question about like it can be helpful to have multiple people on your team, and it's not necessary. If you do come in with a team and multiple people, diversity will matter. All right. So if you have 4 co-founders and you all have the exact same background and history, that is not as strong as if you come in with a much more diverse team. All right, I'm going to start going through the application. Has anyone seen the application yet? Been through it at all? Cool. These are fairly standard questions. If you apply into any type of get any kind of funding for a startup or anything, it's a similar type of stuff. You'll see. I won't go through this. This is just information about getting your name, where they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus founders or whatever. So I'll go down to the actual into the meat of it all. All right. Okay, applicant information. If you have a URL, you won't all have URLs for your website. If you do, throw it in there. It's pretty simple. Please identify who's submitting the application. So that's the actual person filling it out. There could be more than one, but pick one person who's actually going to click, because there is some responsibility on that person. That person must be a student. 2, identify who is going to pitch. If you change your mind afterwards, that's okay. But keep in mind the person has to be a Memorial University student. And then just ticking some boxes here. This is ensuring that you have the consent of your other teammates to submit this information. So if you have other founders, make sure you get their approval first, ideally in writing. Paid employees, you're confirming that you have less than those 10 full-time equivalent employees that we talked about before, and you're confirming that you intend to create and operate your startup in Newfoundland and Labrador. It's important. Then we ask if your startup is incorporated. If it is, you'll get brought to this section. We'll just ask for your incorporation documentation. If it is not, most of you will probably not be, then that's okay. You just get past that. All right. So that's still just getting general information. Now we're going to the 3 main categories that we talked about before: the market opportunity, the solution, and then team. So this part, the opportunity. Here you will talk about the market opportunity for your startup. Make the case that you are solving a real problem and that solving this problem is a valid market opportunity with the potential for significant revenue and or impact. All right, explain your market size and or give us an estimate of how much revenue your company could potentially generate. There's a link here to a good article from Mars about how this is done. Those of you in the tech startup space, this is what would most commonly be referred to as TAM, or your total addressable market. But there are multiple ways to show that you have a good market. You don't just need to provide a TAM number. We want, again, think about what your market size is, how many people are there that could potentially use or buy your product, and then estimate how much revenue your company could potentially generate. So the simplest way is like, there are X number of people out there who could potentially use this. I am intending on charging Y dollars. This gives me a general sense of what that market potential is. But read through that article. It'll help you, give you some tips about delivering on that. Most of these questions do have a limit. We want you to be concise. We don't want novels in any of these, so we're limiting it. So you will need to be thoughtful about your responses. 750 characters, not a whole lot. So we don't want a whole lot of detail here. Who are your competitors? What do you understand about your business or industry that they do not? So this is, what is your competitive advantage? How are you going to win in the long run? And this could mean a bunch of different things. It could be a technology piece. It could be you just might have more knowledge in this space. You've identified something that no one else has, but that's it. What do you understand about your business that they do not? And who are your competitors? Do not say in here that you don't have competitors. You do. Even if your competitor is an old archaic system that needs to be disruptive, that's your competitor. All right. No one should put in they don't have competitors ever. Cool? 100%. Yeah. Any questions on that? Cool. Again, 1,000 characters. So be succinct. You can just list off, these are our key competitors, boom, 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 quickly, and then we are differentiating in this way. That's all we're looking for here. Our judges, there were 43 applicants to this last year. We had judges who had to review 43 applications. So we want to keep things succinct to not burn them out. What is your company going to make? Please describe your product or service and what it does or will do. So just a very brief explanation of what your product is and what it's going to do. Questions on that? Relatively straightforward. Finally, if you do happen to have an existing product or prototype, you may include a link to a demo, maximum 60 seconds. We only want the demos delivered in one way, and that is an unlisted but not private YouTube video. So that means it's a unique URL that you do not need to share with anyone else. Do not make it private. It makes it hard for us to get to it. If you submit a video, I don't care how great it is, if you submit it in any other format, it will not be viewed. So please get the video right. If you have questions about that, if you want me to check the video in advance, I will do it. But this is the way we want to do it. We want to make it easy to disseminate this to judges.
SaaS product.
Yep. Yeah. So this could be a lot of things. If you have a full product, just walk us through the product. If you just have like, maybe you have a Canva or an Adobe XD prototype that's not coded, but you can still show things, you can do that. It can be, if it's more of a physical product, show us a video of you doing something with it, even if it's only a prototype, but you also don't need it. But if you do have something to show, probably can't hurt to do it. It'll show you that you're a little further along. The judges will be looking at what is the likelihood that this thing is going to become a thing. That's the general idea. That's the general lens of looking at. So the more you have done, the less risky it will seem to the judges. So if you have something to show, I would recommend showing it. All right, next section. Anything else on market opportunity? Yes.
What is your company?
Yeah, that's just describing your product or service or solution briefly.
It's not about money.
No, that's purely about product or solution. I guess it could be a service company, but usually it's product. All right, over to the company itself. Use this section to add detail about your team, product solution, any market validation you've collected, and future plans. Note that the video is the most important part of the application and is an opportunity for the judges to get to know your founders. Okay, I'll talk a little bit about that when we get there. Tell us what stage you think your company is in. If you get this wrong, it's no big deal. This is not part of the evaluation. This is just us to get a general sense of where you think you are. If you're just at the idea or concept stage, you just kind of had an idea, but you haven't done much work on it from there. Discovery, this is where you're actively trying to validate this idea. You are talking to customers to truly understand the marketplace, truly understanding if you're actually solving a real problem. Once you get past that, you might go into the prototype stage, where you're building a basic MVP, and then maybe doing some testing with that. Maybe you're out seeking capital to turn your MVP into a full product. Next, validation. This is where you would have validated your MVP. You're ready to build an actual product. You might have some initial traction, users, maybe even revenue. But you actually have active users on your product in some way in this category. Next, launch. So you've actually launched a paid product. I shouldn't always say paid. It doesn't always have to be paid, but you have launched a thing that you are actively intending to seek revenue for, but it's not necessarily a closed beta at this point. So you've actually opened up to a widespread range of users. At this point, if you are intending to be a venture-backed company, this is probably when you're going to start seeking venture capital or angel investors. And then growth scale, this is when you've sort of achieved product market fit, this mythical term in the space we are. You don't understand what that means, just look it up. Not likely. I don't think we've probably never had a growth stage company apply for Mel Woodward Cup, so it probably doesn't apply here. But that's when you probably have, one of the definitions is at least 10 customers who are recurring every year and are very happy. But don't worry about that too much. Growth stage, if you're really ready to start taking off and raising lots of money to fuel your company, or you have revenue that is fueling your growth. Any questions on that? Again, not really part of the evaluation. We just want to get a sense of where you are. How long have you been working on this idea or startup? Again, this is more general information for us, not critical in the evaluation, but something that's important for us to know. If you've been working on for something for 15 years and you've got a single tiny prototype done, probably an indication that maybe you aren't super invested in the idea. Conversely, if you've been working on an idea for 3 or 4 months and you've got a full product out, that means you are incredibly invested in the idea. But again, we don't look at this too much. Describe what your startup does in 250 characters or less. This is very small amount of characters. What we're looking here for basically is kind of your value proposition. There's a link here to an article that will help you. Oh, it's hidden here. That is an article that helps you describe your idea in a very succinct way. It's kind of like a little formula in here. And this is something that everyone should work on, getting down that sort of that elevator pitch, something that you can quickly communicate what your startup is. The video is absolutely the most important component. I mentioned that there are 3 big categories for us: the market validation piece, the product, and the team. The team is probably the most important piece. This is the single most critical factor into whether your company will succeed or not. It's you and your team. That's what investors, they'll tell you over and over and over again. The factor that matters the most to them are the people they're investing the money is. Yes, the idea has to be good. Sure, there needs to be a good market for it, but most important is the team. This is a written paper application. There aren't a lot of opportunities to demonstrate who your team is and who you are, except for this single 2-minute video. That's why it is so important, because you're going to talk about your market opportunity. You're going to talk about your product, but it's also your opportunity to show yourselves off to our judges. So it should cover introductions to your founders, an explanation of what you're doing and why, anything you want us to know about the founders of the project, how winning the Mel Woodward Cup would help propel your startup. But also, if you have multiple co-founders, we want every single one of them in the video. I know it's only 2 minutes, but find an efficient way to get everyone in there. You can break them, give them all different components, or everyone just could do a quick intro, and depending on how many you have, but get everybody in there. This is important.
So each one of those 4 components can be done by
however you want. Yeah, you can give 2 bullets to one person or the other. Yeah, whatever you think is going to help convey these things the best. Yeah. We want no fanciness. One take. You can do that one take multiple times until you nail it. But this is because you can do a lot with editing, right? And you can make this fancy video. We don't want to know how good of an editor you are. We don't want to know how good you are at motion graphics. This is not what matters. This is you looking at camera, talking, and we don't read. Don't read. This is your opportunity to show that you're a compelling person, that you can speak comfortably and confidently about what you're doing. I'm going to show you a couple of examples here now. This is the one that was in. Oh, wait, there's no audio.
Now focused on my own startup called Flip. And Flip is a mobile. Hey, everybody, I'm Kamar. I'm a former Google and Apple engineer. Now focused on my own startup called Flip. And Flip is a mobile platform that facilitates the fastest, guaranteed resale on specialty items. Starting out with limited edition sneakers. Why sneakers? Because it's a huge shadow economy. And I know this, I'm a sneakerhead. I've been one for quite a long time, specifically age 9, just as long as I've been coding. And I wrote a couple of bots a few years ago that have now powered this 6-figure business that I helped co-found called Prestige, that's located in the Bay Area. What we're trying to facilitate with Flip is something that scratches at the human behavior and psychology of wanting to liquidate your assets extremely quickly. I know firsthand from this experience, I'm trying to figure out how and when to sell my sneakers due to like pain associated from eBay and Craigslist and other social media like Instagram.
This is Nick's.
Why is that video good? What's that? Yeah, we're giving you tons of time. 2 minutes. 2 minutes is a lot. We 2 minutes. 2 minutes maximum. Don't feel like you need to use the whole 2. We were actually going to go 1 minute, but we thought we'd give a little bit of extra time just because that team factor is so critical, and we want to give you an opportunity to show off who you are. I'll give you another example. This is an example. Looks like we have to suffer through an ad for a few seconds.
Commitment. Who's looking out for yours?
Just so you can see how acute.
Liz,
I'm JJ.
I am the co-founder and CEO of Campus Job.
I'm the co-founder and CTO.
So Campus Job is an online marketplace for college students to find part-time jobs during the school year and for businesses to find students to hire for short-term work.
In the past 7 weeks, we've acquired over 20,000 users and 10,000 job listings. Most popular job listing for now is Campus Rep roles for big companies like New York Times, Coca-Cola, Uber, and startups, including past YC startups. But we're seeing even a lot of local listings now too, like examples being Dunkin' Donuts cashier or Walmart in-house demoer.
Yeah, so we're about 5 people right now. We're live at all 7,500 plus post-secondary schools in the US. Fun fact for trivia night. And we also raised about $1 million in seed funding. We're actually working out of our investor's office over here in Union Square. It's lovely. If we had a little more time, I would show you outside. Actually, we do. Awesome. All right. Well, we
Hope to see you in California.
They're showing their personalities, right? They're not just robots speaking to a screen. They're actual humans that can crack
I'm Stanley.
jokes
I'm a
and
Stanford
be a little
CS
goofy.
major. I did front-end engineering.
So don't worry about the content in those. Obviously, those companies are pretty far along. They have lots of users. They have revenue. That's not the point of those videos. The point of those videos was about how they deliver it. They're not reading. They're speaking from the heart. They're passionate. Their passion for what they're doing really comes through. Their excitement about what they're doing really comes through. That's what's really critical about the video component. Okay. The video is just for the preliminary component. That is not part of the final judging. I'll just put that in there. How do you know people need what you are making or offering? This is broadly validation. What evidence do you have that people want this thing and or will spend money for this thing? This can look like market research. Ideally, this looks like you can talk about the customer interviews you've done. You can talk about maybe you've received an email from someone that says, when this is ready, I will buy it. Any kind of validation that you have, if you have users and data that you can show, great. If you have revenue, amazing. But this is where you're putting your best foot forward to show that people want what you're making. It is unlikely that you will win if you don't have something strong here. The very first winners back there, they didn't really have a product, but they had tremendous validation behind them because they talked to so many people about what they wanted to create that they won the competition. No idea. But no. Yeah. Thanks, guys. See ya. Yeah. But they'd gone to several firms and had validation from each of them as well. So it helps to be able to drop engineers at Tesla, like what we're doing, and say they would buy this thing. It's good. Why did you pick this idea to work on? Do you have any domain expertise in this area? So if you have domain expertise, that is phenomenal. If you've worked in this world and you have yourself felt the pain that you're trying to solve, that's a wonderful thing. If you don't, you better show that you have deep knowledge in this space, or at a minimum, deep passion about what you're trying to do. If you don't deeply care about the problem that you're trying to solve, there is zero chance that you are going to win the Mel Woodward Cup. All right. So that's part of this should come through in your video as well, but it's your chance to really talk about, is your area of study related to this? Or have you worked in a field related to this? Or is it just a problem that you yourself are just, does that passion come through? And as a result, you have done deep research into the space. Please outline any key dates your company coming next 12 to 24 months. This isn't critical. We just want to get a sense if you know where you're going. Are you launching an MVP anytime soon? Are you raising a round? What are the big milestones? You don't have to put a lot in here, but you can talk about, just what's the next steps for you. Yes. Pardon me? If you have some, it's not a requirement, but obviously, we talk about risk and the likelihood of succeeding. The reality is the more experience you have, the higher the likelihood, or at least the judges will perceive a higher likelihood of you succeeding in that space. Yeah.
One question.
Every question, limited, everyone has a limit. Everyone has a limit.
Because it's not written.
So I'm in the applicant side of it. I'm in my side of it. If it's not on your side, I'll go back in and edit it and make sure I add in the character limit so you know what it is up front.
When we get that answers in Word before we add it.
You can do that. I'm not doing that for you. Yeah. But if you have a Google account, you can save your progress on this as well. But I understand what you're saying, but you can do that. I'm not going to send a Word document. And then just we have a couple last questions. These aren't part of the evaluation. How did you hear about it? Why did you decide to apply? So this isn't really that important. And that's largely it. Questions? Yes. Not part of the evaluation. It's just for our own data. Jean-Samuel?
Hi, yes, I posted this in the chat, but just for remote teams on the video segment, you said no post-production, but is it okay if they just have, a clip of each of us talking that's kind of cropped, or would you prefer all of us on like one shared screen?
Better would be everyone on one shared screen. Okay,
thanks.
Yeah, because we'll want to see how you interact with each other as well. That's part of it, right? We saw in that video we watched, they just worked really well off of each other. So that I would definitely recommend doing that.
Okay, thank you.
Else? The questions about anything? If you do have any questions at any time, my name is Ed Martin. If you're not in our Slack, please give me your email address after this event and I'll make sure you are added to our Slack. That is our hub for all communication. And then you can reach me in there anytime or drop in here any day. I'm almost always here. I say that I'm here a lot of the time, or someone's always here. And happy to answer any questions you have at any point. Again, there is time. Don't feel like you need to rush. Do not leave it till the last minute because it needs to be a high quality application if you want to get into the top 10. One is mandatory. The product one is optional. You will probably want to put that one in. You have a product. Yeah. 2 minutes. Yeah. Oh, the final pitch. This is under debate at the moment. I think it's currently 4 or 5 minutes. Yeah, I'm pushing. Yeah, I think we'll probably do 5 again. The event, it's amazing, these events. We're trying to keep the whole event under 2 hours. It's way harder than you would realize because it's a big event. Like, typically the president of the university might be there, or some politicians, and they get a chance to speak. So it can eat up 2 hours real fast. So, but we do not want to cut back on the pitch time for those reasons. Personally, I'm not a big fan of like 2-minute pitches or less. I want a little bit more time to show a little bit more meat on what's going on with your company. Anything else? No.
We're gonna judges that be recycled from previous years.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, we try to not have repeat judges within a 3-year period.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Pitch deck. So be part of what the MC can help us with and session is that or
Next week, I'm going to talk generally about pitching in general. Yeah.
so
Anything else? Thank you so much, everybody. Really appreciate you coming out. Again, have any questions at any point, feel free to reach out. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. Thanks, John Samuel. Talk soon. Cheers. Yes, well, I'll just stop the recording and log out.